Hello, Daniels. Good to see you again. And so today we're going to see the work Night of the Scorpion by Nissim Ezekiel. So this work by Nissim Ezekiel is a very poignant poem as it explores, very significant themes of human suffering, compassion, and faith in the face of adversity. So a little bit about the poet Nissim Ezekiel. So he's an Anglo-Indian poet, and he was very prominent during the pre and post independent Indian time. And we see that his poems, there's a lot of Indianness in it, and he is from the state of Maharashtra. And we see that he has incorporated the landscapes into his poems. So, this poem also is an extension of how he talks about India, about how he has deciphered the people, their beliefs, and the country as a whole. So moving on, so he's called as the father of Indian poetry, and he was born in December 1924, and he died on January 9th, 2004. He was an actor, he was an editor, and also an art critic, and he was awarded the Sahitya Academy Award in the year 1983 for his collection Latter Day Psalms. And we see that he is, very important in the rise of the Indian poetry in English. Moving further, we see about the poem. So the poem is set in a rural setup, and it's got an underlining plot. I'll just summarize and let you know. So we see that a mother is stung by a scorpion, and it's raining heavily. And people are trying, all her neighbors, they all come together and they try to help her out, and her family tries to help her out. And finally, towards the end, she somehow survives through this devastating situation. And the last lines are very significant. I would be analyzing it later. So, to begin with the setting, it's very rural. It is a description of the house, how it's a mud house. Then we also see that, there are a lot of sacks of rice, which is very, part of the rural households in India. And the picture is also not of a very wealthy place because the mother is laid down on the floor, which shows a sign of lack of amenities and facilities. Then there isn't current or light, and even the villagers who come into the house, they come with lamps and lanterns. So it shows poverty, and it also shows about some of the superstitious beliefs that are existent in rural setup. And to talk about the climate, so the climate is incessant rain. So it's been raining for 10 straight hours. So, the tropical climate of India, the monsoon climate of India is brought out by the poet over here. Then there are like bees and insects, especially the scorpion itself is a very deadly insect. And we see that is also depicted by the poet over here. And the last very significant thing is the family dynamics. The role the father plays in taking measures to help the mother out, and finally also the mother's very own statement that thank God it didn't happen to somebody else in the family. So we see these are some of the contexts of the poem. And the mother's experience, she, if you have to analyze it, she goes through intense pain. It's very agonizing because as time is progressing, we see that the venom is also going into her veins, into her, it's getting mixed up with her blood, and she's in great pain. But we see that she doesn't scream, she doesn't create a scene over there, she's just laid down over there, and it shows her suffering, her silent suffering. This is a depiction of women of the post-colonial period, where they were very, homely. They were struggling, but they never let out a cry. they suppressed their all the sufferings that they went through. Then we also see fear and anxiety, which is there among not only the people but also in the mother also. Towards the end, that anxiety, that thank God it stung me and left out my children. The fear that they could have been the victims, is evident over there. And also one more thing, we see that the villagers, the father, everyone is very concerned. There's fear, there's anxiousness among everyone because they're trying to do some remedy or the other. They're trying to chant prayers, they're trying to find the scorpion. And it also is a tale of a saga of human resilience, how the mother, throughout she holds on to herself. She does not, falter. She has an unwavering spirit that holds everything together, and we see it is a tale of human resilience. Moving further, the reactions of the villagers and their efforts like prayers and rituals. We see they chant 1,000 prayers, they're trying to, pray for her, they're trying to help her, get some relief from what she's going through. They believe in karma, they believe that, the past life suffering, the past, her misdeeds of the past life are a reason for her sufferings, or maybe even, her current life deeds, maybe. So they're trying to, bring her to the right path. So there's concern and compassion also, on the other hand, in the villagers' reaction. And although they do have limited resources, they try to pull in how much ever they could do. And the father's perspective, if you have to see, is very pragmatic. He's a very contrary person to the rest of the villagers. Well, they are believing in the mantras, the chants. Over here, we see father is for medical remedy. So he tries to mix some powders. He tries to pour some paraffin, and he's trying to somehow subside the pain that mama is going through. And we see it's very pragmatic, and this is quite contrary to the belief system that is existent in the environment that they are in, especially among the rural rustic people. There is superstitious thoughts and beliefs, but we see that he is not for it, neither does he stand against it. There is a clash, but it is not very evident. And we see that he is also a person who shows his unwavering support to his mother, to the mother, through the ordeal. And we could also talk about the religious and superstitious elements in the poem. For example, the prayers and chants, like I already told you. They pray and they chant invoking deities so that it could cure their mother's pain. Then they also have the superstitious myths and beliefs that incantations can put away, cast away, and if they were able to catch hold of the scorpion, if they were able to stop it, then the venom would not go further inside the veins and get mixed with the blood. And so it's a deep rooted superstitious thoughts and belief system that Ezekiel is presenting to us over here. And the villagers, they find solace in this faith, despite the uncertainty whether the mother would, come out good out of the situation, but still they hold on to their faith. So this is the religious aspect to the poem. And the theme of enduring pain, empathy and support and human connection, it's parallel to what I already discussed previously. So it's about resilience in the midst of human suffering and how you have to endure the pain. Also, the connection that is there and the beautiful connection in relationships that is there, that extends empathy and support when people are suffering. And this is very important in human life today, which, the comradeship, neighborhood, which I think is lacking in our times. And we need to revive that. Maybe the post-colonial time period, people didn't have the facilities and amenities but their hearts were connected. Now we have, amenities and facilities, but unfortunately our hearts are disconnected. And Ezekiel's poem is a wake-up call for all of us, maybe somewhere. And to conclude an analysis of the poem, the uniqueness is that it gives us a glimpse of the rural India, about the complexities and faiths, the superstitious beliefs that are existent, and it also talks about the emotional impact that is there towards the end. The statement that the mother makes, "Thank God it was me, and my kids are safe." That those last lines just leave an emotional impact to the readers. And it's a very relatable theme, it's a very relatable topic for especially people from who have experienced rural India. And we also see that it also shows an India that is evolving, maybe an India that was in the cusp of a clash between modernity and tradition. And Ezekiel, through his lines and through his very simple words, doesn't make it a very complicated, complex situation, but it definitely presents a complex theme to all of us. So that is my analysis of the poem Night of the Scorpion, and I hope you were able to grasp, get a new perspective, get a new light on this poem. So thank you all for joining.